About a month and a half ago, I managed to take a week off work and I decided to head down to Melbourne. For most arriving by air, this means flying into Tullamarine, and once you're on the ground, you're trying to figure out how to get into town, probably via private car, a rideshare service, the Skybus in lieu of an actual airport train, or you're probably scratching your head working out how to make the journey into Melbourne without spending $20 on a one-way private bus service. But, thanks to my love of unique flights and regional journeys, I flew from Orange to Melbourne directly with Link Airways, and while I didn't film a review, it was a good flight, and the best part is I arrived at Essendon Fields, which meant that my onward journey into town was much cheaper and easier, even if the flight was a little pricey. It was night though when I arrived, so let's see how I got into the city centre. This evening's chariot is a B2 class tram, a common sight on the 59 service from Airport West to Flinders Street Station. On occasion you'll also see Z3 trams used on this service, but as far as I'm aware there aren't any low floors scheduled, but I'm sure you'll point that out below if that's not the case. Since you probably know how I feel about this, I won't elaborate too much further, but let's have a closer look at this tram. The B-class trams were built between 1984 and 1994 by the Comenge or ABB in Dandenong. Two B1 class trams were built in 1984 and 1985, respectively, but were withdrawn in 2018. The main production run, the B2 class trams, started production in 1987, and now with up to 35 years of service under their belts, have seen many liveries and of course many passengers. Today most, if not all, wear the green variant of the PTV livery, but over the years, B-class trams have seen Metropolitan Transit Authority green and yellow, the M greater than symbol tram green, white and blue, the Transdevsel grey with blue and green, and the new Yarra trams livery of white and green with yellow doors, not to mention the countless advertising liveries that these would have sported over the years too. Before I go on, I also want to give a shout out to people who submit their images for Creative Commons. It's a great resource and it's helped out with many of my reviews, since I don't have a time machine on hand. And as always, credits for these images are linked in the description down below. While you're down there, why not consider giving this video a like, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and press the bell so you don't miss your stop. Melbourne's trams have quite a consistent corporate style, with these B2 trams being retrofitted with the same seat fabric as the E2 trams that I checked out a few weeks back. Today's tram 2099 features the affectionately nicknamed bum racks fitted in 2003 to 10 B2 trams to increase overall passenger capacity to 40 seated and 120 standing. Sure, you could request to stop by pressing the bell, but being an old school tram, they have a few unique touches. These pull cords are a good throwback. And there are some funny looking hand grips which remind me of ship's anchors. Less positive though are the old style Mikey readers, which do take a while to register your card. Let's look at the specs of this vehicle. B2 class trams have a pair of AEG traction motors and a combined power output of around 520 horsepower, all supplied from 600 volt DC overhead power. Each of these trams weighs around 34 tonnes and is 23.6 metres long. In terms of passenger capacity and vehicle dimensions, these B-class trams and Brisbane's new metro buses are quite comparable, which is an interesting thing to think about and might be a great segue to broach a pros and cons of tram versus bus video in the future. So let's have a listen to these B-classes now.
stop 30 minutes.
I caught quite a few B-class trams during my Melbourne travels, and considering their age, they're still going pretty strong. The interior refresh has done quite a good job of making them a bit more modern, and considering they're around 30 years old now, they look pretty good, and are certainly cleaner and tidier than many of Melbourne's outer suburbs buses. I am glad to see internal information displays here, and to be able to hear audible announcements, which makes it much easier to locate your stop. In my review of the E2 class trams a few weeks back, I talked about the next generation of vehicles and what next changes there might be on the network, and I definitely recommend checking that one out if you haven't already. With G-class trams expected to enter service from 2025 onward, it seems like climbing steps up into a Melbourne tram is going to be something that happens for quite some time, especially as there's around 250 high-floor trams currently in service, and only 100 G-class trams currently on order.
The next stop is Willowstones, stop 28.
Whilst I certainly enjoyed catching these B2 class trams, and they do scratch that enthusiast itch, it will be nice to see a day where people with limited mobility or those carrying prams, strollers and even heavy shopping bags or suitcases can get on and off trams hassle-free. And with that, it's time to watch one depart. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you again soon.